Hey there, Jim. Hey there, Bill.
Theo, how's it going?
All right.
Good evening. How are you all?
Howdy. All right, so Jim, your co-host, and I've turned on the captioning. And can anybody hear the landscaping noise coming through my window? Good.
Not at all.
You're all good.
How are you enjoying the start of summer? Humidity and everything.
Humidity, not so much, but besides that, it's been great.
Spoken like a Vermonter.
Yeah.
Well, I used to be able to tolerate it being from North Carolina, but I've lost it all.
Where in North Carolina are you from?
The Research Triangle. So
I'm going to be down there literally well, not in the Research Triangle, but Charlotte tomorrow.
all right. For the day,
Yeah, for the day. I go down there once a month for work.
wow. All right.
Yeah, so I'll be in Atlanta or Charlotte and then Atlanta. So
Okay.
It's a quick one.
Yeah. All right. No time for barbecue. Yeah.
Sadly not.
Yeah. No. No. All right. So Matt may be late or not at all.
Okay.
He did email some comments to Jim and myself. Yeah, I've been pretending to be Matt all year. There's no reason why I can't, feel like I know something for a change. Terrible captioning. Hello,
Hi.
Susan.
Hi. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
we're going to give it one more minute to see if Matt's able to join us. Otherwise, we will get started. All right. So thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and I really appreciate folks taking the time. So first off, Jim Hogan.
Here.
All right, Bill Spalding. All right.
Here.
Smile. Yeah.
Couldn't find my mute. Mute.
Kevin York.
Here.
And myself here, and really delighted to see Aaron and Susan joining us, as well as Andrew Dorney and Mr. Jordan and Mr. Shermer. So the second item is approval of the minutes from June 13th, 2023. Does anyone have any comments, or is there a motion to approve? All right.
So
We gotta have
moved.
some comments. We gotta stall for 3 minutes here.
Second.
So, all right, thank you. All in favor? Kevin,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and Bill,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So I'm all in favor, 4-0. Minutes, okay. All right, so we got 2.5 minutes. In anticipation of opening our public hearing. So stepping over that, looking forward to talking more about 3A and talking a little bit more about the summer. So, and anything else that other topics that folks have. So. Hey, Bill, will there be safe streets like last year, blocking off?
Yes. We didn't get approval for early dates, but we do have an approval, I believe, for an August and a September. I don't think
great.
they've been approved yet, so we're still waiting here.
Okay.
But we do have the bike valet this weekend. This Saturday will be the third free bike valet at the farmer's market. So come on down. Bring your
All
bike,
right.
scooter,
All right.
whatever.
How's that been going, Bill? I know the weather hasn't been in your favor.
It hasn't been too much. I wasn't there this past weekend, but Catherine Dingra and her son were there. The bike racks are awesome. They're so easy to put together and all that. I'll be down there at 8:30 till 1-ish this Saturday. I'll bring my tent too. Just it seems like whether it's a lot of rain or a lot of sun, it's a good thing to have.
All right. Well, that's excellent.
Yeah. One thing about being at the farmer's market, though, I like spend $30 or $40 real easy.
And you don't bring anything home, right? You
Nope,
just
nope.
yeah.
Empanadas. I had like 3 or 4 empanadas. A lot,
all right.
between creations and other places.
All right. So that's really how you tip the valet. You just,
Well, next year it'll be real nice because we'll have the new share use path right there too. So promoting hopefully some more biking around the lake.
Right, and they're thinking of putting together like a free maintenance while you leave your bike type of thing too. Where we can
Nice.
do,
wow.
tune-ups.
Cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, when is the construction of the mixed-use bike path anticipated to commence?
I heard today, August. But we've been working with the farmers market on that. So
Wow. Neat. That's excellent. All right. Well, it's 7:05, so I'd like to open the public hearing of 197 Nahat Street, the definitive plan. And again, appreciate Mr. Dorney, Attorney Schumer, and Mr. Jordan, thank you for joining us. And we've got some abutters with us as well. I thought real quick, do a quick 30-second summary of the proposal. And there are just, I think, a couple of reminders about some of the discussion points from last time. And then I thought from just a discussion point of view, go through the plans first, the revised definitive plans, and then get to the drainage plan at the end. So real quick, just let me start. I thought the drainage summary had a really nice summary of the project, being proposal to subdivide the lot into 2 existing lots, and creating a 40-foot wide right-of-way. The existing house and garage remain on Lot A. A future new single-family dwelling with a footprint of 2,024 square feet potentially is proposed for the second lot. The existing driveway will serve both homes, but will be removed and reconstructed within the proposed right-of-way with a 16-foot wide paved shared driveway serving each dwelling. Is there anything else to add to that? I know the plan proposes drainage, including a drip strip around the future second house. Anything else to add by way of introduction? Attorney Schumer or
Was
Mr.
that to us, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you. And for the record, Attorney Jesse Schumer representing the applicant, Andrew Dorney. I would just add, Mr. Chair, that the proposed plan also includes a new fire department turnaround, which doesn't exist currently, which will improve access for both the existing property and the proposed new home. But David, anything else that you'd want to note that's modified on this?
No. For the record, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, David Jordan, engineer and land surveyor with Greenman Peterson. No, I think everything's pretty much been summarized. When the board's ready, I can share my screen, just kind of quickly run through the changes to the plan. I know that the revised plans and the calculations that we submitted last week is still under review by the engineering division. So this may be a fairly quick meeting tonight, unless there's other questions that the board has.
Yeah. Real quick before we jump into the plans themselves, we do know that to your point, we will still wait for town engineering and y'all to confer again on the final specs. We got correspondence from Tim Wilson that they have not yet been able to fully and formally review the plans and respond to you. So we know that's in the works. Feel free to share your screen and step through the plans.
Okay. Somebody needs to enable screen sharing.
I think it is.
Yep, it is now.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, I think when we were before you a couple of weeks ago, we had up on the screen a red line plan, and we've since taken that red line, advanced it a little bit further, and incorporated those changes into our full site subdivision plan set of drawings. So to summarize from where we left off last week, the house, as the chairman mentioned, runoff from the roof of the house is being recharged into the ground using a drip strip around the foundation. For the shared driveway that comes in off of Nahan Street, we have a stone trench off the edge of pavement to provide groundwater recharge and treatment. I think when we showed you the red line plan last time, this stone trench was probably right up along the edge of the pavement. After conferring a little bit further with engineering division, it was suggested that we provide a grass strip between the pavement and the infiltration trench to provide a little bit of pre-treatment. So this plan reflects that. And the trench has also been widened a little bit wider than what was shown previously. Those are honestly the major changes to the plans from last time. Along with the revised plans, we did submit revised stormwater calculations for engineering department to review. They also asked us to address the stormwater management standards from the Mass Stormwater Handbook, and we've done that. That was included with our submission to engineering. So at this point, we're really just waiting for review from them on our revised plan. The other item that is still outstanding between us and the engineering division is they had requested what they call a proof plan, a plan showing a conventional subdivision, meaning a full paved roadway with a full turnaround as required by the subdivision regulations. We are preparing that and just need to vet that with the engineering division in terms of the level of detail that they would like to see in order to have it qualify truly as a proof plan, and also discuss our stormwater management for that theoretical full build-out plan, which honestly would be very similar to what we're doing here, just a bit on a larger level in terms of trying to provide direct infiltration of the runoff coming from the street itself. So that's in the works. We are hopeful to get that plan in front of engineering this week, because again, they have requested that.
Okay.
And that's honestly the summary of where the changes that have been made since we last talked.
All right. Can you remind us when the driveway and the trench will be built?
Yes, at such time as this new lot is to
Right.
be constructed, the existing driveway would then be modified in conjunction with the construction of this new house.
Yeah.
And until such time, Mr. Dorney actually sells the lot, everything will just would be maintained as is with his own driveway for his own lot.
Yeah. Okay. Lot is, okay. And have you reconciled the street address with the fire department?
We have not addressed that specifically with the fire department. I know this board expressed concern about having this be a named street.
Yeah.
So we should circle back with the fire department on that.
Okay.
I think what was suggested by the fire department was truly that, just a suggestion. But we'll confirm that with the fire department.
All right. Yeah, it seemed that, right, seemed pretty straightforward, that these would still have Nahat Street numbers, but easily marked and documented.
Yeah. I do agree, Mr. Chairman. I think just having the two numbers for Nahat Street at the end of the shared driveway should suffice.
Okay, all right. Since we're starting with the drainage plan, I'd like to invite the members of the planning board to ask questions of the drainage plan and the stormwater analysis.
Mr. Chair, if I may, do you want me to go through Board Member Lowry's comments since he's not here? I have them pulled up in front of myself.
Yeah, that'd be that'd be great. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. So thank you guys for revising the plans. As mentioned, one of the board members is unable to attend tonight, but he did send some written correspondence as it relates to some comments that he would like to have expressed to the development team. The first being that that he wanted to confirm that the existing conditions plans accurately reflected the information regarding the existing sewer service, specifically if that there are clean outs in the manholes, that they are denoted with the depth and type of sewer that should be shown, and wanted to confirm that there was the sewer was at an appropriate depth, or the mitigation steps to be taken such that the existing service would not be damaged during the construction. Additionally, and similarly, as it relates to the manholes for the existing sewers, there was a comment as it relates to, questioning whether or not the existing manhole covers are going to be adjusted, what grade that adjustment may or may not happen, and a request for any detail associated with that to be provided as part of this documentation set. Additionally, a limit of work area was requested to be shown around the entirety of the site, and that it would be important if for lot B being sold off to have that limit of work as part of that envisioned lot B work be clearly defined prior to that potential future sale. Additionally, a limit of work line, in addition to going around all of the site, that would also be utilized to denote some of the tree protection elements that are part of this plan as well. And that the board member wanted to make sure that between the drip edge and the foundation, that those elements wouldn't encroach on the existing tree line or tree root balls such that it would compromise those trees. He had a note on here as it relates to the stone drip edge around the house and the maintenance of it. Wanted to make sure that there was a mechanism as far as enforceability of said maintenance around the roof drip edge. And then a note in terms of patching of the stone retaining wall along the haunt, that any repair or reconstruction should be done to match the existing. And then lastly, a comment as it relates to the detail for the clay barriers in the infiltration trench. This board member, and frankly myself as well, could not locate a detail, even though there's you can see on the plan where there says the clay barrier C detail. I couldn't find any reference to what said detail would be. And then separately, and just my own comment, I did have a question as it relates to the chain link fence that's being shown on this drawing right here. I'm assuming that's for the duration of construction only, and that's not a chain link fence that would be envisioned as part of the final construction. Yeah, it's the one that kind of extends on the south, plan south along the haunt and then wraps around.
This one here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's actually an erosion control barrier, not a chain link fence.
Oh,
Well,
I apologize if I misread the key.
Hopefully our key is correct. I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if that's an erosion control barrier, then I withdraw my comment.
Yep.
And I know there's a large number of comments that came at you all at once. If you need any clarification or me to restate any of them, I'm more than happy to do so.
I mean, is that in an email that could be forwarded to us or excerpted from and sent to us?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. Bill or Kevin? Since Matt has asked the question about the strip drone, the stone drip trench encroaching into a tree potential and maintenance of the stone drip edge around the house. Is that something you can speak to just informally now?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of maintenance of the drip edge, it's really just monitoring it to make sure that over time, water is still infiltrating into it. It needs to be kept clear of obviously any leaves or, debris. The only thing coming into it obviously is what's coming off the roof. So there shouldn't be a lot of contaminants getting in there. But honestly, the maintenance is if it's gets to a point where it's not infiltrating, the stone just needs to be dug out and replaced with clean stone, down to the point where it's interfacing with the underlying soils just to restore the infiltrative capacity. In terms of the encroachment to the one existing tree in particular that we're closest to, we did check the extent of the canopy, and I think it's fairly accurately reflected here that we're just barely into it. And I think we're in a little bit of a fill situation on this end of the building, of the house. So it's, any disturbance in that area to the root structure would be absolutely minimal, because we're, pretty much at the limits of the drip line of the tree, the crown of the tree.
Okay. All right. Any other questions regarding the drainage from the rest of the board?
Yes, Theo, I have a few questions,
Yeah.
although I'm crossing them off my list as Jim was reading Matt's and his, so.
Yeah.
And thank you again for pulling this together and updating them, and looking forward to hearing the comments from the engineer. Question I really appreciate the maintenance plan too. I'm just gonna pull it up so I make sure. The requirements, the property owner shall be responsible for ensuring the proper operation and maintenance. So stormwater maintenance system owner, the property owner. In this case, currently, Mr. Dorney, it's the only owner. So that trench that's running along the proposed driveway road, that will be maintained by Mr. Dorney, and correct me if I'm wrong, until the other property is sold, and then the trench around the drip strip, that's going to be maintained by the future owner. Is there anything else that needs to be like divided, or how would the maintenance plan call it specifically as future owner of proposed single family dwelling? Like we haven't, this is not our normal subdivision. So I was wondering how in the operations plan it will specify moving forward who will be responsible for the maintenance. And it's a pretty hefty maintenance plan.
It is, you're correct. So starting with the easy one, and that's obviously the drip strip for the new house. Whoever owns that house, there's the responsibility of maintaining that. As far as the infiltration trench along the shared driveway, I guess I need to defer to Andrew and maybe his attorney at this point as to how they're envisioning structuring this with a potential future homeowner using that driveway to access their house, whether there would be a shared cost aspect to it, or if it would remain solely with the existing house in the back. And I think that is something that needs to be vetted a little bit further.
Perhaps I can address that, Mr. Chair, if I may. So we haven't gotten that far, not having approval of the subdivision yet. We haven't got to the point where we're designing the property rights arrangement. But for a project like this, what I would imagine is a 2-unit homeowners association that would have provisions for sharing of responsibility and financial cost of maintenance of the drainage structures, maintenance of the way, snow removal, all sorts of things like that would come with a typical subdivision. It would just be a smaller agreement just between 2 property owners. Unless and until that agreement is reached, the party who's responsible would be Mr. Dorney himself, because he'll be the one who owns the land under this right of way. So that's how we'll plan to approach it once we get to that point where we're looking to actually break up deed out the property to the new owner. And what I would suggest in terms of enforcement of that would be that the conditions of the board, if you do vote to approve this project, that the conditions of the approval be referenced in any deed and any homeowners association, and provide for the creation of a homeowners association with the agreement to be provided to the board to have in your file, so that everyone is understanding of how the arrangement is proposed to be made.
Thank you. And like Jim, I thought that was a chain link fence around Lot B and going along the back, so, but that was clarified.
Mr. Jordan, you mentioned the infiltration trench is a little bit wider in this plan. It looks like it's 5 feet wide. What was it previously?
I think when we first had sketched it out prior to the last meeting, it was probably 3 feet wide, I believe.
3 feet wide, okay. And the grass filter strip is new as well, right? And that's 5 feet wide?
That is correct.
Okay.
I had kind of just some potentially academic questions. I don't understand groundwater mounding. So, and just for context, the estimated seasonal high groundwater table is 36 to 40 inches below ground. Is that typical for Wakefield? That'd be just useful.
Yeah.
For me.
So in terms of seasonal high groundwater table, we identified that by doing test pits on the property, digging test pits with a backhoe and observing the soils. It's really dependent on soil types.
Sure.
I will say that a 30-inch water table is not unusual for Wakefield or pretty much anywhere in New England, to be honest with you. With glacial till type soils, which is I think what we're seeing here. So that is fairly typical. Groundwater mounding is a phenomenon that occurs when you have something in the ground that's introducing water into the ground on a regular basis. It's more commonly associated with large septic systems. So a large septic system that's discharging effluent into the ground, all day, every day, day in, day out. What tends to happen is that because of the water that's percolating through the soil down to the water table, there's a phenomena where the water in the ground through capillary action tends to want to rise up and meet the water that's coming down. So it creates this little mound effect in the water table. And it's really for more very large discharges. So not a single family home septic system, but say a septic system for a large shopping center or something is discharging thousands and thousands of gallons a day. A day. The Mass stormwater standards do talk about looking for the influence of groundwater mounding when you have a infiltration system in place. And I would say, again, we would expect to potentially see an effect on the groundwater if you had a very large underground system, meaning a field with, very large pipes or very large chambers over a very large area. A stone drip strip around a foundation and a 5-foot wide trench along the side of the road isn't going to introduce the kind of water that is required to create that groundwater mound effect. However, it was asked that we do the calculations. We did the calculations, and that was included in our revised stormwater report.
Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. So not having any super familiarity with it, that's really helpful. And I think, Jim, you asked this question last time. Since the proposed new house, this is the maximum size of the house, and that's the maximum drip strip, right?
It really is, yes.
Yeah. And it's sort of 1-to-1, a smaller house, smaller perimeter drip strip, the same, it's a smaller house, less runoff, sort of like that's all. Relative and flows in the same direction. So do you have to do?
That is correct. The width of the drip strip off of the foundation remains constant. It just chases around whatever that ultimate foundation is.
Mhm.
So as the foundation gets bigger or smaller, so does the length of the drip strip, but not the width.
Okay. Yeah, this is the maximum proposed dwelling unit size. So there's no chance that this is like just getting turned into a simple rectangle, filling in the edges, right?
Not. See. You can see these dashed lines here are the minimum building setback lines. I mean, you could fill in a little bit up here.
Mhm.
Can't do much in the back because you keep
Yeah.
bumping into the setback line.
All right.
So that gives you an idea of the area we have within which to work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, I appreciate that clarification. Yeah. Notable to that there's significant improvement of recharge volume and the TSS and everything. So I think that seems positive. Do we want to any other questions about drainage? If not, do we need to step through the resubmitted plans just to walk through them real quick?
If you would like, Mr. Chairman, I could certainly do that pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think that it may just be the fire turnaround, which is the last
Yes, I'll
page
jump
of
to
the
that.
plan.
That really is the only other one that was added to this plan set. And we did have a couple of discussions with the fire department regarding this. And this is what ultimately came from it. So the blue lines are the path of the ladder truck
Mhm.
coming in off Nahan Street, and what a fire truck or any emergency vehicle or any delivery vehicle for that matter can do is come down the driveway, pull in either straight back up and turn around, essentially a 3-point turn. Or the reverse, they can come in this way, back up this way, and then head straight out. But either way, they're driving straight out onto Nahan Street. They're not backing onto Nahan Street. What we added to this plan here, because the fire department wasn't really understanding the intent of the parking for these two houses. So we showed how each house could easily accommodate 4 vehicles. Mr. Dorney's house, we added this one actually there currently, but we formalized a parking area here for 3 cars. And then he could get 1 or even 2 more cars right up by the house, because this is all paved currently. This is existing pavement up here that we're just tying back into. And likewise, the new house, a 2-car garage, at least a 2-car garage, with 2 cars in front of the garage door. So again, 4 cars over there. So that was the fire department just wanted to make sure that cars wouldn't be prohibiting them from making these turns. And I think this did satisfy him in that regard.
The parking space for the 3 cars on Mr. Dorney's lot, was that widened, or was that always designed to accommodate 3 cars? I guess
That was always that size, Mr. Chairman.
okay. All right. Yeah, and all right. Yeah, and we did have a fear that that would be part of the turnaround, so that this is helpful. So,
Yeah. And we've made this part of the plan set now, so it'll be part of the record.
yeah, okay. I appreciate that. Any questions from other members about the turnaround or any other aspects of the resubmitted plans? We know that we're still missing the full enumeration of waivers requested, right?
Yes, you are.
And so waivers and other conditions. Okay. Is it and that right, that includes, all right, right, the proof plan. We did get the O&M plan, but that'll be, we'll wait for engineering to comment to that. Do we need to discuss trees and tree protection? And maybe it was just the one potential intrusion on that other tree that Matt raised.
In this plan here, we've shown tree protection fencing around this tree and around this tree.
Okay.
And there's a detail on the detail sheets showing more information on the tree protection fence.
Okay, all right. And we previously discussed a condition that no big fence would be constructed along Nahat Street. So we'll make sure that's there. And right, we've got the 2 new trees for tree plantings. Will there be any other additional trees? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but
Yeah, we haven't proposed any additional at this time, other than the 2 shown.
okay. Right, and we did have discussion last time about potentially adding a condition that future construction will conform with all the town requirements, and and also reflecting the maximum footprint and the drainage of this plan, so that none of that will be lost. When a new house is proposed to be built, will there be an updated drainage plan in reference to that house, given the and this is more again, a little bit more of an academic question. Just to know that, there will be an actual drainage plan for the actual house that gets built. Is that, that's maybe an open question to everyone, including the board members.
Yeah, that would be my understanding. Before construction on any house in this lot can commence, a building permit application needs to be filed. And as part of the building permit application, I believe a plot plan is required, but I would need to confirm that. But certainly that is the intent, is that final footprint, update the plot plan to reflect the footprint plus the actual trip strip associated with that house and the lot rating associated with it.
Okay. Thank you. So I appreciate all the information, and if there aren't any other questions, we'll open it up to public comment. Invite Busan or Denny to name and street number, and
Yeah, sure. Bhushan Kulkarni, 3 Kathleen Drive. Few questions. Again, this is a good revised plan. Will we be able to see this plan on the website of Wakefield? The revised plan, will that get uploaded there for the review?
Yes, it will be.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that will be both, right? Revised drainage plan and the overall plan, which was shown out here. Or it may be a single file, but it will cover both, right?
Sorry, you said what plan? Both the
So
site
there
plan
was
and
a
the-
whole, the revised drainage plan, as well as the whole file will have all the details. That's the same one which will get shared, right?
It should be all in there. Yep.
Excellent. I got one other question. The setback line, right, which was shown and discussed in today's call, and it showed as to how much construction can go beyond it, cannot go beyond. My question is, if there is a deck to be built for this new construction, can the deck go beyond the setback line?
Off the top of my head, I do not know the answer to that. That's a question, that's a zoning question that I need to look into.
My guess is the answer to that is probably not, because that would be part of the structure, which would be subject to the setback requirements.
That's correct. That would be subject to review and approval by the zoning board of appeals.
Right.
Okay.
So in that
So they-
case, perhaps to further answer, if the builder or owner wanted to have a deck that goes farther into the backyard, they'd have to essentially trade off and have a smaller house.
Perfect. Thank you. Good clarity. Now, what was the dwelling size which for the new constructed house, right, from the square foot perspective, which has been proposed as a maximum?
I don't have that information off the top of my head here. We didn't list it on the plan.
Oh, you did not. Okay. And that dwelling size, when that gets listed, that gets considered as a total living area with the main floor, up floor, basement included, or again, that's maybe academic question, but as to when the dwelling size gets quoted as to this is the maximum size house which can be built on this, how does that max size gets calculated as such?
Well, I'm going to suggest that, any approval that this board gives is not going to list a dwelling size for that lot. I think that goes beyond the review of this board. I mean, the chairman or someone, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're simply here to determine if we can create this additional building lot.
Yeah, no, my expectation would be that it would establish the existing footprint of the house. And in the technical memo for the drainage plan, it says 2,024 square feet proposed for lot B. the construction of a single family house, conforms to all the other zoning requirements of a single family house that's in the code. So, so that's, it's not going to be any different from existing homes around you in terms of height
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah, that would be a question within the zoning and building.
Okay, that's
That we don't have any jurisdiction over that.
no problem. Thanks for that clarification. One more question again, as in one of the picture, it was shown that the new house can hold 4 cars, with 2 cars being in the garage as such, right? So is that what the expectation is, that as to the new house will have 2 covered garage as such, at least in the current proposal? The construction can have different, but at least is that what is been proposed, or that was just the depiction on the picture?
We
I
just.
think to address that comment, I think similarly to a number of the other questions and concerns related to the specific building of the future unit, it's very difficult to comment on that with any level of certainty, because again, what we're trying to do is separate the lots right now and determine if there can be a legitimate subdivision of the land into a new buildable lot. The intent, as expressed by the applicant, has been to sell that parcel to another party who would then develop their own design. So you can think of it as we have a placeholder design, and then there would probably, as a condition of this board for the subdivision, is that when that lot is purchased by someone else, that they would have to submit stormwater calculations to substantiate some of the baseline assumptions. But the applicant right now doesn't really have control over what that would or would not look like in the future, because they're not ultimately the ones who are going to be putting together that design. I hope that
That's
clarifies.
No, that
And David too, did you do that as well? I know you added that with this plan with the fire truck to show like the turnaround, maybe to show some more clarifying, kind of to show to scale what that might look like too, right? I mean, is
Exactly.
that why you did that kind of?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's why, Dushan.
Okay, no, that's fair. And my quite possibly the last question, again, as in the current plan shows 2 extra trees. In our last discussion, to some of my concerns related to privacy and the closeness of the houses, the applicant certainly had mentioned that we can look into as to what more can we do for kind of keeping that privacy. So is there any more thoughts on that, is there any more ideas as to what can be achieved to maintain that privacy of the 2 houses, my house and the new proposed house?
Maybe I'll try to take that one, David. So I think, coming again to the point that we've been stressing a couple of times, the landscaping and screening and whether somebody puts in a fence along the property line, that's up to the new owner, and they'll want privacy from your windows just as much as I understand you want privacy from theirs. My suggestion to you would be, if you're concerned about it, you could install your own fence, you can install your own landscaping on your property, and work out an agreement with the new owner of this property on a mutually agreeable arrangement for something like that. But again, it's to everybody's benefit to have privacy. Andrew will want it, his family will want it, the new owners, you will, and your neighbors. Everybody wants the same thing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. No, again, as in I was commenting with respect to, I remember Andrew certainly expressing the kind of appreciation of that concern and expressing that as to some of the things can be worked out. That's the reason I was asking that question.
Thanks.
Thank you. That's it from my side.
Great, thank you. Denny, do you have any questions or follow-up?
I do not. I mean, do we have access to these new plans as well? Because I was just looking at I guess maybe I'll ask next time, because I do want to get a better idea of the tree protection lines that were being drawn. Sorry, I think it was Mr. David Jordan was talking about what was, sorry, let me start my video. sorry. Yeah, sorry, Denny 201 Nahant. The lot line, sorry, the property or the foundation line for the home still looks like it's on the line for the drip line for the trees. And I know I see like some sort of black line being drawn in there. I'm not quite sure what that was. Is that
Yeah, the black line was the location of the tree protection fencing.
So the drawing of the tree, is that still accurate? Like is that drip line for that tree, is that new black thing the actual drip line for the tree, or is this kind of like we're just gonna cut through the roots and the stuff for the tree?
No, I'm not saying we're cutting through the roots. As a matter of, as I think you may have already mentioned, on that side of that dwelling, there's likely to be some fill placed. So no, there's really no intention to cut into the tree root significantly. The tree protection fencing is to protect the trunk of the tree from accidental damage during construction.
Okay. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna reiterate what I think Jim Hogan had, I guess, mentioned for Mr. Matt Lowry about the drip line and the home, you know, pretty much yeah, being on the drip line. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you, Mr. Dorney, Mr. Schumer, and Mr. Jordan. Just from a timing perspective, is it, do we think we're going to have all of these items addressed in final plans for the next meeting? Is that meet with engineering and get all this wrapped up?
I think that'd be our goal, Mr. Chair, certainly to have all the final items with engineering ticked off, and as the items we've been discussing as well.
Okay.
Right. And just if I may, just to perhaps put a bow on the discussion with the neighbors, you know, they wanted to have copies of the plans. I'm happy to get in touch with them and send them copies if they're unable to find them on the website. And they can, Erin has my contact info, they can contact her, and I'm sure she can facilitate getting in touch with me. And if they have any other questions, I'm happy to answer any other questions they have.
Yeah, I will have them. Hopefully, I'm gonna have them on the website by tomorrow.
Terrific.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Schumer. That's much appreciated as well. And yeah, no, and Denny and Busan, thank you very much for being considerate neighbors and for participating throughout, and to you as well, Mr. Dorney. So.
Can I ask a quick question as well? So you were talking about finalizing, just so I have an understanding, like what the meetings are about. Is the next one gonna be like? Is the next one the big meeting that we're gonna, I guess, iron all the details out, or is that still much later down the line?
I think the next one should have all the final plans packaged together, which do enumerate all the waivers being proposed and all the conditions that so far have been discussed, and which are to the plan, to our satisfaction, and so that we make sure that all the questions raised within our purview have been addressed. And you know, and this is also just to make sure that the conditions and the questions raised by the DPW engineering division are fully addressed as well. I mean, we don't want to,
Mr. Chair, if I may,
presume, or
if you may.
yeah, we don't want to go ahead of them. Yeah, so alternative, yeah, Jim.
Yeah, so if I may, I think, Danny, the ultimate question is that it looks like we're trending towards potentially taking a vote on the subdivision of the land, which
Right.
is literally the splitting of the two lots themselves. However, if you're asking in terms of, you know, like a plan as it relates to what the final building would look like, or some of those other kind of construction type of coordination efforts, that would occur after the potential sale of the lot that we would be voting to create by doing the subdivision of the two lots. So Mr. Dorney would have lot A and lot B in his possession, but then he'd have the ability to put lot B on the market and then sell it. What we're going to be looking to do is set forth and define the number of conditions that we're going to be putting on the development or on the subdivision of the two lots. And then, Mr. Dorney could theoretically elect to either develop it himself, or as he's indicated his willing or intention, he could sell lot B and then have that, after that, there's likely going to be defined some sort of a review and approval of the stormwater component of that. But that's subject to whatever condition is going to be placed on that subdivision of the lot as currently constructed into two separate lots. I don't know if that helps kind of explain the process, but that's generally where we're trending.
Okay, yeah, I think then if we're trending that way, and this might be, getting closer to finalizing, I do want to reiterate those same things that I talked about previously. Really would like to see some more condition about, just agreeing with Mr. Matt Lowry, no shed, no fence along that front Nahant Street side. And then again, the tree, the drip line and the proposed home being, right on it. Those are things I'd like to be addressed. Thank you very much.
When is the next meeting?
It would be 2 weeks from today. It would be July 11th.
Okay, thank you.
Terrific. All right. Again, really do appreciate the detailed discussion and being able to vet these issues and step through everything. There are no other questions. We'll thank you all and see you in 2 weeks.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorney, Mr. Schomer, and Mr. Jordan. All right.
Have a happy holiday, everybody.
Yes, that's right. Thank you as well. All right. All right. That was really helpful. So our next item, 3A community overlay update from Jim and Aaron.
Yeah, there's not much to provide an update. The last meeting that we had for section 3A, we were unable to reach a quorum, so we ended up canceling that meeting based on some unavailabilities of different members of the working group. So nothing really to report. The next meeting is going to be July 18th. So after this board's next meeting, because normally we would have been meeting on July 4th, which wasn't going to be viable. So I think right now, the next step right now is, and we have a draft map that is under consideration in internal review. I know Aaron's gotten some initial feedback from other members within the town administrative staff as it relates to some of the different elements that are looking that may or may not want some additional feedback to the working group before we try to promulgate that. And then based on those discussions, we'll be able to progress. Additionally and separately, the intent is the working group is going to start some of the work of actually defining what the bylaw is written as. But that would be something that we're going to be talking about at our next meeting. We were going to try to start that conversation at the last meeting prior to the realization we did not have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm really curious about how you're doing the math, and I'm excited to see that, like in terms of defining the measuring the acreage and everything like that. So
if members of the board are interested, I'm more than happy to take the materials that we have so collated to date and push them to you. Obviously, they're subject to revision and are kind of in fluid, revision. Even as something as simple as the state has indicated a non-willingness to work with us as it relates to the continuity or the contiguousness of the district. So it seems like we have to have it actually, they aren't going to allow breaks in the working district or in the district, which would have been helpful for us in terms of our compliance pathway to have an overlay district that essentially excludes main commercial thoroughfares. So we're going to have to, that's a new topic that the working group needs to be brought up to speed on, as it's been an ongoing discussion. And Aaron, feel free to step in if I'm mischaracterizing anything that you're saying. But that's something that's kind of a new topic that we're going to have to work our way through. So yeah, I can more than happy to share with the other members of the planning board, but just know that there's still a little bit of work that we're going to have to do. I think we have a good idea of what we want to do conceptually, but now we got to figure out how to make, check all the boxes with the state.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, Jim, the state is not allowing exclusion of commercial areas, so like Main Street, Albion.
Yeah, so where we're running into problems is that, and I get what the state is probably trying to prevent is some bad actors from just spot zoning, for lack of a better term. But basically what they said in the bylaw or in the section 3A, it requires you to have at least 50% of what your, I'll call it your compliance acreage, be contiguous. So touch. And so where that gets us into trouble is that we tried to exclude North Albion, Maine from our overlay. So by doing that, North basically cuts a whole probably, I don't know, 35-40% of our proposed overlay off from the rest of it. Albion splits the zone that's between North and Maine in 75-25, and then on the other side, there's more, it just kind of chops it all up, which, if other members of the board would like to see where we were initially planning, I'm more than happy to pull that up.
Something I'd like to add too, I think for us, and something that's in the back of my mind too, is, we still have our mixed use multifamily overlay district, which I think has so far, some people may disagree, but has proven to put together some good projects where we've had higher density mixed use in our downtown area, as well as along Foundry Street. So we kind of wanted to protect those areas, but still have an avenue where people could apply for a special permit, and we'd have more site plan review control over what those projects would look like to allow for more commercial use. We're not saying that we don't want multifamily in our downtown, but we really want that mixed use component. And I don't think that the state really thought that through completely, because they say you can do density bonuses, but they really don't have anything for us to base it off of, and things like that. So I think this avenue that we're looking to do, and then with that being said, we're still having two ways of creating different types of multifamily housing, still allowing for this maybe higher density type housing with mixed use, and then having more of this smaller multifamily infill around our downtown train station and things like that, different type of housing from the larger scale mixed use multifamily. So I like what we have, but yeah, I don't know. Jim wants to talk about the map.
Yeah, I mean, I think that honestly, we're still digging into what our options are going to be. But you can see right now we've got these 5 zones that are initially proposed to be part of it. So we're going to have to look to see if we're going to have to, in order to meet that, continuity of the overlay with some of the acreage. I think the acreage that we have a little bit to play with. We could theoretically change some of these, or what we could do is we could look at trying to link some of these with, a bridge of zoning. So it's something that the working group has to work its way through. But advisory in nature, this is conceptually where we stand. And then I did hear the feedback from the other members of the planning board as it relates to if we have the zone that we need to overlay zone that we need to have for compliance with the state only, there may be an interest in having a non-compliance zone that's discretionary in nature, specifically around Greenwood, based on the fact that that's where the compliance pathway was initially going to be going through until such time as we determine the densities. But that's a conversation I'm going to have with the balance of the working group, get their feedback, and then coordinate with Aaron as it relates to the viability of proceeding with that work. So more to come, and hopefully in later July. So probably not necessary to have an update on this, since I don't think it's going to materially move at the next meeting. But after that, we should be able to resume updating this board with our progress. Does anyone have any questions? I'm more than happy to address anything that any other members of the board may, or comments as it relates to this kind of baseline map.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I appreciate you and the group putting this together. Yeah, of course, very interested in how this map works out. Thanks.
No, thank you as well, and Matt and Aaron too. Such tough things to sort of thread the needle. So I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Appreciate all the work on this.
Yep. No, and a lot of the credit's got to go to the other members of the working group who gave great direction, and obviously to Aaron and our third-party consultant Ezra for actually going through and adding or removing things that we kind of reviewed on a parcel by parcel basis, which makes the whole, it has to be contiguous conversation even more frustrating. But onward.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as just filling in the common area here, because the town owns it. No one's going to build on it. We're not going to be selling it.
Yeah.
It's all if the numbers make sense.
Yeah, it's all depending on the density. If we do that, does our average density go down because we're adding non-buildable lots to? So it's a balancing act, but I think in general we've got a good pathway. I think we've got a thoughtful plan that makes a lot of sense, even if we have to kind of shoehorn it around some of the state's requirements.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right. Thank you for moving this along. Item 5 on our agenda, items not anticipated by the chair. So we'll open it up to all of y'all, and Aaron and Susan too.
Yeah, Theo, I
Yeah, Bill.
just Susan, thanks for dropping off, or Aaron dropping off the two ZBA.
It was Susan. I cannot take
Thank you,
any credit for
Susan.
anything that's ever dropped off unless she's on vacation.
Well, I just wanted to bring them up because I don't have any comments on them. It's good to see accessory apartments being submitted and hopefully approved, as it helps. I know. Yeah, that's all. So I don't have any comments. I don't know if anybody else does.
Agreed.
I can give a few updates on my end.
Sure.
I
That'd
feel
be
like I
great.
haven't done that in a while. So just something for you guys to think about. I'm more than happy to share information with you. I know the topic of housing is widely discussed through many of our boards, and I actually attended the Mass Housing Partnership, who we're getting our funding from, and our consultant for the MBTA communities, their housing conference that they had, affordable housing conference 2 weeks ago. And it was really interesting. In the two different ones I kind of tracks I sat in were senior housing, which it put a whole new perspective on what senior housing looks like. I know we talk about that a lot in town, but it opened the floodgates of a lot of other, not issues I want to say, but a lot of things to think about when you're thinking about the senior housing, as well as town land and looking at town land. And I know the state has been looking at state-owned land and how to create more housing with that and what that may look like. So I thought that was really interesting. Of course, MBTA communities was discussed and how there is an affordability component, but they sent out a really great binder that I'd be more than happy to share with you guys. The Fair Housing Act, which is, I think, is something that really isn't talked about a lot, and something that maybe more of our board should be educated on, because I think sometimes at public meetings, people will say things that, if you look at the Fair Housing Act, things that can't really technically be said or used in when making a decision. And something else that was brought up that I thought was very interesting as well is the education of our different boards when we're dealing with permitting issues and things like we were doing tonight, what that looks like with training and how you can all be best prepared with dealing with the public when things are brought up, especially when it comes to fair housing. So more than happy to share that information with you. And I thought the whole training at the different boards would be really helpful to everyone. So something I kind of put in the back of my mind. So if you're interested in seeing that binder with all the PowerPoints, I can forward that to you. The bike ped plan, I believe, will be going to the town council on July 10th. I will be putting up hopefully the final draft that's been all edited and done over on the website sooner than later once the town council receives it. So hopefully that will be adopted July 10th, but we've already started moving forward on some of the recommendations. Again, this plan is just a plan. Recommendations and policies does not mean that we're going to be doing everything that is recommended. So I just wanted to put that out there. There'll be more public processes as part of when we start to go look at some of these recommendations. And so I will share that master plan. I should be having a final document by August, which then again, I will go to the town council, do a presentation about it. And then there'll be a 2-week public comment period, which I'll make sure I share with this board. And then we also just got designated, I can't remember if I told this group, a housing choice community, which opens up a lot more opportunities for grants. And also looking at our affordable housing trust, it gives us a lot more avenues to look at different things. So that was exciting. And then there was one more thing that I thought was important, and it just skipped my mind. And the housing production plan. I submitted for a grant to do a housing production plan. Don't know how involved you all were as part of that when Paul Rivas did it in the past. So I'd love to know. I think, Bill, you're probably the only one that can speak to that. Were you involved at all?
Just on the peripheral. When was that done?
So the plan was from 2015 to 2020 is when it was certified, and now it's expired. So it would have been prior to 2014, 2013.
Paul did so much the work on that. I'm looking on my notes. I know we did reviews and all that, but housing plan, master plan, yeah.
Okay, I was just interested how involved this group was in that process. If it does come to fruition, and it's going to be done at some point. So,
well, Paul was reporting similar to what you're doing now, where he was pulling from different housing plans that different towns and everything had, and he was using examples, and then he was pulling pieces of that together, putting it all into a document and presenting that.
That's great. And I think too, if you look at our housing production plan, we've checked off a lot of the things that was recommended, which is really nice because people say we don't sometimes follow plans, but if you actually look at it, it's like, oh, wow, we've done that. So now it's looking at that and how do we update that to reflect some of the things that we've done well and more positive changes that we can do moving forward. So.
Hey, Aaron, I think I heard you say that we applied for a grant for the housing production. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is the grant for outside consultants, or what would that be for?
Yes, outside consultants. I know, and I think Paul did a lot of the work. I think they did still have a consultant last time. What I've seen, a lot of times consultants, as you guys probably know with consultants, they may know some stuff about Wakefield, so you're still very involved, but that's what the funds would be pretty much used for, is the consultant holding the public meetings and things like that.
And then would the intent be that essentially it's run through, I guess it sounds like it's not really 100% defined, but it'd be run through town staff essentially?
Yes, it wouldn't be like a planning board. That's why I was wondering if it was really like a planning board. I don't think, because housing touches so many different groups here that I would imagine it'd be more of an internal staff thing, and then getting feedback from all the boards.
It was Paul was running the whole thing, but a lot of the town assessor, Victor, he was involved. I think Council on the Aging, that was still Judy. And there was 2 people, I think, from town council at the time, but I think it was led by Brian Falvey. He was doing most of it because that was presented and shared at the meetings. I don't think we were recording the meetings back then, though.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't. Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were being video recorded. I don't know. It would just be interesting to go back and see, because I remember being in person at one of them watching it, and it was really just the amount of data collected was awesome.
Yeah.
Just
if you have a
numbers
chance
and pieces, it was pretty cool
to look at the plan too. And I thought it'd be a good time for us to do it, and it gets certified by the state. because of the new census data that's all coming out as well. So it's all pretty up-to-date information. They do a lot of demographic information.
You can tie it off of the master plan.
Master plan, exactly. So
Is there, I know that you'd mentioned, I've heard you say in multiple different forums that the current housing plan is out of date. It runs from 2015 to 2020. Is there any, for lack of a better term, penalty for having an out of date housing plan? Or is that like, is there anything that is a tangible benefit having one that's in, like, is there any urgency, I guess is the question.
yeah, I would say there is, especially when it comes to our 10% SHI figures. You know, there's different avenues with safe harbor, which is a way that you, as a town, there's different avenues you could use to reject certain housing projects that come into town. 40Bs, for example, if you meet these certain safe harbors, and one of them could be like 2% growth, you know, over the last calendar year, 10% hitting your 10%. There's one more with your land area. But what really helps with that is having a certified housing production plan. I've been in conversations with DHCD about this, and he said, well, since your housing production plan's outdated, he said I'd have to do something else because we don't have a certified up-to-date housing production plan.
Do you mind if I just ask a follow-up to that? It's not 100% making sense to me, and I apologize if I'm not following. Because we don't have, I thought that the 40B review, if you don't have 10% subsidized housing or affordable housing within the community, it kind of doesn't really matter. Are you saying that there's other, even if you don't have the 10%, if you have a
there's
certified
like,
housing plan, you can still, you know, have that approval rights?
claim a safe harbor. Yeah. So Theo, I don't know if you work at all with this in your line of work too, but if you've created, I can send the rules that are at MGL that has it. I think it's MGL. Totally blanking on the law. But if you do like 2% growth over the last calendar year of your total housing units, that can be a safe harbor that you can use to potentially deny a 40B project. But unfortunately, I don't have the email in front of me clarifying why your housing production plan is that much more important to have. But I know it's a great thing for you always to have, as you may want to. We're not saying we would deny affordable housing. We're just saying it gives us another tool in our toolbox when we have projects that come forward. And we are not at that 10% yet. If that clarifies it a little more, it's very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, not 100%, but probably as much as you're going to be able to without actually showing me a piece of paper. You know what I mean?
Will send you
I know it's a lot in the weeds.
No, there's a whole PowerPoint about safe harbor with 40B that the state has done in the past, and that goes into much more detail of the different ways that you can meet that, and I can share it with this group.
Is it from 2018? Because I think I'm looking at it.
It's I was like, oh, 2018, that's not far. I'm like, oh, that actually was kind of far now.
Yeah, so yeah, you're spot on. I think that it would be really neat. I think it's nice to like be able to talk more broadly about 40B and housing permitting and things like that. And I'd love to help sort of talk about that. You know, I wouldn't want to do it before 3A. But right, you get momentum from the master plan, the housing production plan, and yeah, I think we get.
Yeah, and sorry, just to clarify, so I said the 2% over the last year. If you have a housing production plan or certified, it gives you 2 years for 1% production. So it is, you know, it could be kind of urgent too. And I would love to do a 101 on when some of our affordable units count, when they don't count, because people see all this development happening, but a lot of them, those units aren't technically on our list yet until I receive agreements that they're from the developer as well as the state that these are definitely going to be affordable units. So a lot of them are still being constructed. The only ones that can automatically go on the list once the decision is made is 40B projects. So
Aaron, you mentioned You mentioned the Affordable Housing Trust, that
Yep.
article passed at the last town meeting. Have you heard any progress on that group coming together?
Yeah, so after town meeting, I have to put an attorney general's packet together with the town clerk, with all the decisions, and then it gets sent to the attorney general and they review it to make sure that everything looks good. And they told me that we should hear back by August 24th. So we're kind of in this like waiting period, but we're starting to put some of the pieces together, of putting a certificate together for the Affordable Housing Trust. But once we kind of get the okay from the AG, I think it gives us more leverage to move forward. And so kind of just that waiting period. But I've talked to Counselor Vincent, and I think we're going to start piecing some things together now.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
If I did have one other thing I wanted to, I know Aaron, you great update. I know we're kind of asking a million questions about a bunch of different random things. I know you mentioned one of the things that came up at the recent conference you attended related to the potential use of town-owned land for housing. Can you explain what is there an actual action that's coming out, or is that just something there's a level of interest, or is the town actually thinking about trying to start like an RFP process to engage or sell land or partner with private developers and or with a series of conditions, or what is the line of thinking as it relates to that topic?
So I think my line of thinking is why I decided to attend that one is specifically when it comes to Butler Ave. We have a large parcel of land over on Butler Ave that's been in the process of being cleaned up for many years. And Bill may know the history, so I'm shaking his head because I know we looked at that to do like an open space type plan. People have mentioned doing senior housing over there, but it's still in the process of, like I said, getting cleaned up. So when it's ready to go, I think it's just trying to see what makes the most sense, and maybe it's looking at different type of housing in town. So I was just kind of inquiring about, what that RFP process would look like, what other towns have done with creating housing with town land or selling off the land to create housing, things like that. Any conditions that they put on, what they wanted to see, if they wanted affordable, what that process looked like.
So you were talking about that from like a specific town-owned asset, but not as like a general audit type of situation. Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you for the clarification. If that's the case, Aaron, maybe we can sidebar this. I know some people who work at DCAM, and that's literally what they do all day. So
Yep.
if you're interested, I can facilitate a connection between those folks as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, I don't know if we're quite there yet. And I know Steve's really been the one that's kind of been the one handling that, but I'll definitely bring that up. Thank you.
Aaron, just to add to that, I would love to see Butler Ave, some type of senior housing. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but it would be fantastic. And for the rest of the board members, we worked on the subdivision for Butler Ave for about 2 years. It was a lot of work, a big project. And as you might know, it never happened. If anybody wants to know a little bit more history about it, let me know.
Wow, 2 years, that sounds rough.
Yeah, I think it was 16 or 17 subdivided sites. Properties. Yeah.
Is that the one that's currently it looks like a small level of forest, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, it's actually a good sized forest. You could walk up through there. It is town land. I know the DEP's working, or that's being cleaned up, but that's more on the southern side of the road that goes in. But the rest of it is like a wildlife. In fact, we were working to preserve a wildlife corridor that ran up through the back, and preserve some others. So yeah, I learned so much from working on that project, from all the different civil site and from Matt and former board members about, it was just between understanding more about blasting and what was going to happen and neighbors. And yes, it was a big project.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really glad it didn't go through.
Yeah, any other sort of items for discussion? we probably need to come back to talk about bylaw review and that working group, where we can come back to that next week, next meeting. If there's any updates. Just a quick email regarding the open space and recreation plan. There's a draft plan, and would like to convene a potential meeting for town boards to review it. So that's sort of in the works. Hard to schedule during the summer, but that's what they're trying before the end of July. So, if there, Aaron, thank you for all those updates, by the way. That's really helpful. If there aren't any other updates, I would happy to take a motion to adjourn.
I can make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. All right. Jim Hogan,
Yes.
Bill Spalding,
Yes.
Kevin York,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So thank you, everyone. And yeah, beat the heat.
Yeah.
Summer's here.
Not the heat,
Yeah, but use the valet.
the humidity. All right. Thanks. Thank
All
you,
right,
Aaron.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Susan. Thanks. Bye.